Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a long overdue edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and it's been a while. It's been like a week, I think, since I've recorded a video, and a lot has happened in the last 7 days, or 6 days, whatever the hell it was. But anyway, the championship series are underway. Both of them, at this point, are being led by one team, 2-0. The Astros have a 2-0 lead over the Yankees in the ALCS, and the Dodgers have a 2-0 lead over the Cubs in the ALCS. Both of those games are now going for the middle three. Both of those series, rather, going for the middle three games in the, at this point, losing team's home stadiums. So the next three will be played at Yankee Stadium and at Wrigley Field. So we'll see if either of those teams can turn things around as the playoffs move on and the winner of these two series meet up in the World Series next week. Who I think is going to be, it's going to be the Dodgers and the Astros. That's what I've been hoping for, at least since the Indians got booted out. And, you know, in the National League, I wanted the Diamondbacks to take it, but I don't want to see the Cubs again. I'm sorry. Sorry to all of you Cubs fans. Don't want to see it again. But anyway, I don't want to talk about the playoffs today. I instead want to talk about the Mets managerial search, which is currently underway, and I want to make some thoughts and opinions about that. Last week, after the Red Sox were eliminated from the playoffs, the Boston team parted ways with their manager John Farrell, leaving another vacancy in the managerial contests for the upcoming season, and a pretty prominent one because, look, if you're a manager looking to make a name for yourself and get some early W's under your belt, the Red Sox are a team that absolutely can attract top-tier managerial talent because they have such a great team around which that manager can manage. It's a lot easier to get started with a really good team than it is to try to do it with a team that's building. And at this point, with the Yankees, with the Mets, in the situation that they're in, I don't know that they're a team that is going to win a lot of games. I'm not saying they're not going to, but they're certainly not a lock to. Excuse me. So John Farrell's departure from Boston, first of all, I don't think he's a fit for the Mets. And I don't think a couple of the guys that the Mets are interviewing are fits for the team. I'm partial to two of the candidates, and I guess perhaps three of the candidates, but two for sure. Both of the candidates rather that I'm partial to were former Mets players, and are currently holding coaching positions on a couple of teams. But neither of them have any managerial experience, and that's what I think is necessary for the Mets right now. I think having a manager, a first-time manager with minimal expectations, is going to be the best route for the Mets to go. And so the two guys that I'm looking at are Alex Cora and Joe McEwing. And honestly, of the two, I think Joe McEwing is the better fit for the Mets, mainly because I think he's more attainable. As it's been reported yesterday, I think, on Mets blog, Cora is the Red Sox #1 choice. And as I said, look, Cora's going to make a name for himself right out of the gate. Why not do it in Boston? I mean, the team is primed to win. He's played there. He's won a World Series there. It's a good fit for him. So, as much as I'd like to see Alex Cora become the manager of the Mets, and I certainly would, I think Joe McEwing is the better option, the more easily attainable option. Now, there were also reports on Mets blog that the Mets are targeting as their #1 pick Brad Ausmus. I'm not opposed to Brad Ausmus. I don't think he's a bad choice. The key with all of these guys the Mets are looking at is that for the most part they're all relatively young. And I think that's an absolute necessity. I think it's important to change the dynamic of the clubhouse that Terry Collins, who was clearly an old school baseball guy, has established and had built. I think it's important to bring in a more sabermetric inclined person to run the ship. I also think it's important to have someone who's going to be okay with Sandy Alderson's meddling. And it's kind of like an unwritten story that Sandy's involved in setting the lineup, and not unwritten, that's not the right word, but it's sort of like a story that that isn't officially reported, but everybody knows it happens. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Sandy's involved, and I think it's important to have a manager that understands that, and that's why Terry was able to do so well and have such a lengthy tenure as Mets manager, because he was okay with not necessarily being a yes man, but just okay with Sandy's involvement in the day-to-day operations, if you will. I think the next manager has to be ready for the same thing, and that's sort of why I feel as though a manager with minimal experience, like a Joe McEwing, isn't going to have preconceived notions of what he should be doing with the team. He's going to be more inclined to listen to Sandy's advice, which may or may not be advice, maybe a rule that he's just saying, I really think you ought to do this. And again, in my head, I always just keep thinking back to Moneyball with the scenes where Brad Pitt's Billy Bean character would talk to Philip Seymour Hoffman's Art Howell character, either before a game or in the dugout or wherever, and he'd be talking about playing Hatterberg. It always makes me think of that, and I just get that sense that Sandy does that himself. To the point where he's not going to trade anybody to force the new manager's hand, but it's just something that's in my mind often. So Joe McEwing is the guy that I want for the Mets. The longer shot for me was Robin Ventura, but I think that's a long shot, and I don't know that he's the best fit. He's coming off of several losing seasons with the White Sox, so I'd rather see the Mets, again, start fresh, start with a manager who has something to prove, and give it to a guy who's fiery and knows the city and knows the media there, and Joe McEwing is, for me, the perfect choice. What do you guys think? Am I on the right track with Joe McEwing? Would you rather have somebody else? Would you rather have one of the other 19 candidates that Sandy's been looking at? Let me know what you think, either in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter at Mr_Met. If you're not already following me there, please do so and participate in the no prize awarded Mets trivia contest that I try to run every day. Thanks for watching the video. I do appreciate it. Until next time, I'll say let's go Mets. And I'll also say let's go Astros, because I want the Yankees bounced. And why not? Let's say let's go Dodgers too, because I don't really want to see the Cubs make it. So let's go Mets, let's go Astros, let's go Dodgers. Talk to you guys soon.